Floodwaters are very unsafe. Let's start by stating that. First of all, as we know, they're stagnant water. We have many sewage systems that in Belize City are not adequate for storage of sewage waste. And so whenever you have floods, all these stagnant water and sewage waste becomes intermixed and mixed together. And it contains many different types of bacteria. We also have viruses, fungi, parasites that can be found in the floodwater. And having these microorganisms, of course, presents then a health risk for individuals or the population as a whole. Mm-hmm. So it can be very detrimental in the case of being a health hazard.
Dr. Javier Zuniga is the primary healthcare coordinator at the Central Health Region. Currently, the Ministry of Health is conducting surveillance for any potential contagious infectious diseases that may follow after a flood. The most critical period is 7 to 10 days, but the surveillance continues for an entire month.
What are we looking out for in the sense of post-flooding and diseases or health conditions? One of the more important is infectious diseases, primarily gastroenteritis, or what we would say people would just start vomiting, diarrhea. So these are things that we'll be looking out for. Also fever, rash, things like that, because skin infections can also appear in individuals who have been exposed to floodwaters as well, in infections of the skin, etc.
The Ministry of Health is advising the public to take necessary precautions to avoid unnecessary illnesses.
Hand washing, why? Because anything you eat or anything you drink and you touch it with your hands that has been contaminated, then of course that can cause or pose a threat of or port of entry for bacteria or any other type of microorganism. If they have purified water, then that's not a problem. But if they do not have purified water and they have water that has been stored, first of all, the water has to be stored properly, which means that it must be covered. And if it's water that is like that has been collected from the rains, then they need to undergo this purification of water.
If you suspect your water source has been contaminated with floodwaters, then the recommendation is to treat the water with regular Clorox, using 8 drops of Clorox to 1 gallon. You can also boil the water before drinking. Bring the water to a boil, then leave it to boil for at least 1 minute. Then your water is safe to consume. You should also monitor your tap water as well before using.
This is because sometimes you could have breakage in the lines that supply water, potable water and tap water to the communities. So monitoring the color of the water, the odor of the water, and also the taste of the water. So if there's something different than what you're normally used to, then you should not drink that water.
Now, it may seem like being overly careful, but keep in mind that floodwaters have more than 100 types of disease-causing bacteria, viruses, and parasites. The other hidden risk is the growth of toxic mold in homes after water damage.
1 in 100 is the mixture that should be used, and this will kill approximately 99.9% of bacteria. Mm-hmm. And it can also help in getting rid of viruses and other parasites and microorganisms that could be present as well. The walls must also be clean, so it's not only the floor, the walls, the furniture must also be clean, because bacteria can also harbor themselves in these furniture, etc.
Be sure to check your food storage as well, and be mindful when shopping.
If it comes in contact with flood water, get rid of it. Sometimes these shop owners might leave their products on the ground, so again, rust, look for rust around the cans, and again, just look and see if it has been wet.
Lastly, clean your yard. Stagnant water will harbor mosquitoes, and then comes the threat of vector-borne illnesses like dengue and chikungunya.
Now that the rains have stopped, we will now put into the interventions for vector control are multiple, but the most important would be the ULV spraying, so the public would be able to see the trucks going around spraying. We'll also be doing larvicidal placement, so they will place a certain particular chemical to kill larvae in stagnant water. The most important thing is to avoid floodwaters. Please don't even touch floodwaters. Why? Because, again, there's a high probability that you might get some type of infection from the floodwater, and it poses a health risk for individuals exposed to floodwater.